It's Thursday, April 23rd, 2020. As I make this video on this early afternoon, the Dow Jones is currently up around 100 points, and it's been up all morning. And what's really amazing here is we got the jobless numbers this morning, an additional 4.4 million jobless claims. We are now over 26 million people jobless in the last 5 weeks right here in the United States of America. Over 26 million people have lost their jobs in just the last 5 weeks. Dow Jones is currently up around 100 points. It's amazing that these markets are up when we get this kind of news. Doesn't anybody question this? I mean, these numbers are historical. We've never seen numbers like this. Just try and grasp what 26 million people look like. That's how many people lost their jobs in the last 5 weeks, yet these markets are up today. Again, it's another prime example of the manipulation that is taking place. Anybody telling you that these markets aren't severely manipulated is either living under a rock or they are just flat out lying to you. There is so much manipulation taking place. Again, it's this complete detachment. You are irrelevant to the stock market. Main Street is irrelevant to the stock market. AP this morning, U.S. unemployment toward highest since Great Depression. Unemployment in the U.S. is swelling to levels last seen during the Great Depression. And we're told not to worry about this. We're told that this is doom and gloom, that this is pure exaggeration. Do you understand that over 26 million people have lost their jobs in the last 5 weeks? I don't think people realize the economic consequences this is going to have on the United States of America. While people stand by and just say, don't be negative, this is doom and gloom, nothing to worry about, this is no big deal. This is a huge deal. Over 26 million people jobless in the last 5 weeks. Remember, there are millions of people who aren't even being counted at this point. There are millions of people who haven't even gotten into the system yet because the system is melting down. These states can't even count the number of people unemployed because it's happening so fast. The people out there who do call this doom and gloom, they're probably the ones who are getting a pension check right now. Maybe they're getting a government check. Maybe they're getting an unemployment check right now. But let me tell you, the day is coming when your pension check is going to get severely cut, 25, 50%, that we are going to see in our lifetime pensions implode here in the U.S. People at some point, many people are not going to have a pension. We right now have a major pension crisis here in the United States of America. And you people who believe everything's going to be safe because you're picking up your state check or your pension or your unemployment check, let me tell you, all of it is running out, whether that's your unemployment check or your pension check. This is all running out, and every one of you needs to be very concerned about what's going to happen when the money runs out. If your pension check gets cut in half, how much is that going to affect your lifestyle? It's going to affect it a lot. When your unemployment check runs out in 3 or 4 months, what are you going to do? Big trouble is coming to the United States of America because the money eventually is going to run out, and the money is eventually going to buy a lot less as inflation is coming to America. Yes, we are going to see deflation as we see a housing crash take place. We're going to see prices come down. But at some point, we are going to see mass inflation, such as food, and we'll get into that in a minute. But I don't know about you. My cost of living hasn't gone down. It continues to go up. And this is a bad combination. When people's unemployment checks start running out, when their pensions get cut, when they don't have a job, this is a very bad combination. 30% of Americans right now say that they cannot hang on 1 month without being completely broke. Yet we shouldn't worry, we shouldn't be concerned. This is so obvious, it's so apparent of where this is all going. We are going to see a time in America that we never thought was humanly possible. It is going to be a nightmare for millions of people, and it's going to be a hard time for everybody. Nobody is going to escape what is coming, whether you're rich or poor or in between. Nobody is going to escape what we are going to see take place here in the United States of America. Let's talk a little bit about what's happening in housing. Now, I know that a lot of real estate agents out there are going to tell me things are great, it's never been better, this is just temporary, things are going to bounce back, real fast this summer. These people are delusional. U.S. new home sales have never dropped this much in March. New home sales crashed by 15.4% month over month, smashing the year over year comparison down 9.5%. You know, I hope that people out there listen to me when I was telling you back in 2019, if you're even thinking about buying a house, hold off. We have an election year. We don't know what's going to happen. We knew, many of you already knew that there was going to be an economic crash before the election, either before or right after. And I would say 80% of you predicted that we would see an economic crash before the 2020 election, and you were right. And I had people calling me, personal friends, and again, I don't give financial advice out, but people were calling me, asking me, you know, hey, I'm thinking about buying a second home. I had a lot of people calling me, asking me if they should buy a second home. I said, absolutely not. Be patient, wait at least till 2021, because I feel that we are going to see a crash coming very, very soon. Of course, none of these people listened to me, and they bought second homes. And now they may be paying the price. So these are astronomical numbers. Again, new home sales crash 15.4%. We now have over 3 million households in forbearance, and the number is going to climb. I mean, just connect the dots here, ladies and gentlemen. Connect the dots. 26 plus million people unemployed, 3.3 million people on forbearance. The economy is frozen. This economy is not going to get off the ground for quite a while now from what it looks like. What do you think is going to happen to the housing market? What do you think is going to happen to auto sales? What do you think is going to happen to retail? What do you think is going to happen to the overall economy? It's going to get much worse. So while we're on the topic of real estate, let's talk about jumbo loans here. I was reading an article this morning on The Hedge, and it says in here, the jumbo loan market is facing a classic liquidity crunch as millions of homeowners are seeking forbearances as the economy crashes into depression. Firms who usually bundled up jumbo loans have immediately exited the market. Jumbo loans are mortgages for the best credit risk borrowers who purchase more expensive real estate, larger homes. You know, when we look at parts of California here, Los Angeles, San Diego, Orange County, out here in the desert, the average home price is much higher than, say, places in Indiana or Minnesota or Missouri. So the average house in Orange County is around $640,000, $650,000. That's an average price. That's going to buy you a cracker box in Orange County. So many people are dependent on jumbo loans in order to purchase homes in areas like this. And what's going to happen now? What kind of implications is this going to have on the real estate market, especially here in Southern California and in many other places too? Because if somebody's buying $1 million home, more than likely they're going to need a jumbo loan. Home lenders at one time, you know, fell over for borrowers like this. They were golden. Now there's no business. They can't do these loans. Availability for jumbo loans has plunged 37% since March, making it harder for the best credit risk borrowers to get jumbo loans versus all other mortgages. Lenders are pulling out of the jumbo loan market. They see a correction coming. And most jumbo loans are not government guaranteed. Yeah, they see a correction coming. They see a housing crash coming, and they are out. And this is going to have huge ramifications in a lot of the housing markets here in the United States of America, especially right here in the state of California, especially in Southern California. Wall Street Journal. While we're talking about real estate, there was an article here on the Wall Street Journal a couple of days ago, and I would like to congratulate Mr. and Mrs. Gates. They just bought, now everything taking place right now in this economy, in this housing market, this infection, everything, it's a terrible time in American history, and no doubt it is going to get much worse. But Mr. and Mrs. Gates went down to San Diego in Del Mar, and they bought themselves a $43 million beach house. So that's right here in the Wall Street Journal. So congratulations to Mr. and Mrs. Gates for your $43 million beach house purchase. I'm sure that that's going to help the American economy while everybody else is struggling. Article here on Forbes. Most, if not all, of the American economy should reopen by summer's end. This is Steve Mnuchin. Now we're hoping that most of the economy will be open by summer's end. So what does this mean? Part of the economy will be open in June, quarter of it, half of it. This economy cannot afford to be closed. This every day that goes by is putting a nail in the coffin of small business. It's putting a nail in the coffin of the small mom and pop restaurants. This is putting a nail in the coffin of the U.S. economy. And Steve Mnuchin, I mean, this is not, to me, a very positive news when Steve Mnuchin is coming out and saying that most of the economy should be open by summer's end. Again, this is not good news for real estate. If you're even thinking about buying a house right now, I highly recommend that you wait. I'm not giving financial advice, but if you were my brother, my mom, one of my dear friends, I would tell you, do not buy a house right now. You're out of your mind. I believe we're going to see the biggest housing crash in history. And while we're watching the economy crash, while we're watching housing implode, we've got other problems. Another article here in Bloomberg, and it's titled, Tyson to Close Iowa Plant in Third Major U.S. Pork Shutdown. Food shortages coming to America. A lot of you have been commenting down below about food shortages, your concerns. And this is something that is becoming more and more realistic every day. And when we see these pork plants shutting down, it's not just a food shortage, but it's an employment shortage, also, and it's also affecting the economy drastically because it's affecting farming, it's affecting the truckers, distributors, it's affecting the grocery stores, everything that's interconnected in the shipment of food, the growing of food, the distribution, the logistics, everything that goes into it, all the way to the shelf. Is huge, and this is going to have dire consequences. The more of these plants that are shutting down. Another article here on Bloomberg. Pork shortages to strike America in 2 weeks. America's food supply chain is beginning to break, and this is where we're going to start seeing more inflation. It's going to be in food. So we are going to see food inflation, which we've been seeing nonstop for years, but we could start seeing inflation at the grocery store really picking up here. In the last several weeks, 6 major meat packing facilities have shuttered operations. So more people unemployed, less food getting out there. And now, you know, the price of a hog is plummeting because nobody's buying them. There's nowhere to put them. They can't slaughter them, but yet the price at the store is going to go up because the supply chain is breaking. 15% of America's hog slaughtering capacity has been shifted offline. Beef and poultry could be the next issue we see in reduction in the next couple weeks. So we're seeing problems in pork, but we haven't seen that many problems in poultry and beef yet. But that could change in the next couple weeks. And if we see reductions in beef and poultry, well, of course, we're going to be paying more for those also. Now, another critical segment of the economy is oil. Oil's up today, but we are by no means out of the woods here yet. The Wall Street Journal had an article yesterday, and it said at least 1 in 10 super tankers around the world are serving as floating oil storage facilities. Tankers are literally stranded without buyers. They have no place to put the oil. Article here on the hedge. Here's why 2/3 of U.S. oil and gas companies may not exist a year from now. Of the 96 companies in the U.S., integrated oil and gas companies, E&P companies, drilling companies, equipment and services sub-industries, 67% of these firms have total liabilities in excess of equity. With oil prices down 80% from where they were at the beginning of the year, how do these companies meet debt payments or pay suppliers? And when you think about what is connected to the oil industry in America literally supports towns and cities. I mean, just think about the distribution, the trucking companies, equipment companies, the drillers, the amount of employment keeps the restaurants open, it keeps businesses open. I mean, the oil industry in America literally, it's an incredible machine, and it employs so many people and keeps the lights on in so many towns here in America. If energy prices don't rise fast and consumption doesn't start exploding, or if the energy sector doesn't get a bailout, this industry is going to be in very serious trouble, and the employment that people depend on with the energy industry, if this goes, I mean, we are sitting on something much bigger than the Greatest Depression in the world. This is a complete meltdown that we are watching take place. We are one event away from this thing going to the next level. And I don't think any of us can really understand how bad this can get. I mean, we are talking literally about every economic sector in this country literally heading into a depression right now. I mean, take a look at your malls, take a look at retail, auto sales, look at the energy industry, look at real estate, look at commercial real estate. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. We are really close to something really big happening here. CNBC.com, massive layoffs and pay cuts are likely coming to state and local governments as federal aid goes elsewhere. How about cities? And not just cities, how about states imploding too? We're talking about all these segments of the economy, but how about now complete states like the state of Illinois and so many more imploding, pensions imploding. I mean, we are sitting on 2 tons of dynamite, and this no doubt is not just the most dangerous time I've lived in. This is probably one of the most dangerous times in U.S. history. We have never been here before. City revenues are dropping. How are they going to pay workers, the garbage man, the police, the fire department? How do they pay this? How are they going to keep paying into these pensions when they're having to let everybody go, when there's no tax revenue coming in? State and local governments are warning of a wave of layoffs and pay cuts after getting left out of the federal relief package expected to pass Congress this week. In many places, such as Detroit and Los Angeles, those painful reductions are already taking place. People now are being furloughed without pay. Again, people have rent, they have mortgages, they have car payments, they have bills, they have credit card debt, they've got to eat, they've got to pay the air conditioning, the lights, the water bill. This is getting really scary. State and local governments received aid under the $2.2 trillion CARES Act, but it's not enough. these states and these cities are so broke that they need even more bailout money. And the question is, what happens if they don't get bailed out? What is going to happen? There are so many unknowns here. We are living in such a time of uncertainty where none of us have ever been before. Nobody really knows how it's all going to play out, but we know that it's going to end up being a very, very bad situation for America. A lot of people are going to get hurt. A lot of people are going to get wiped out. A lot of people are going to suffer. And a lot of people did not prepare for what is about to happen. Here's an article right here. Small business rescue earned banks $10 billion in fees. So while you're not getting a paycheck, while you're waiting 7 or 8 weeks for your first unemployment check, while you've missed your mortgage payment or your rent payment, while your business is frozen, it's good to know that the banks have earned $10 billion in fees. So I'm going to wrap it up right there today. I do wish I had better news. A lot of people will say this is very pessimistic, but I'm a very optimistic person. This is why I, like you, have been preparing for years. This is why I bought gold. This is why I bought silver. This is why I put cash away. This is why I have another location where I can run to get to my gold, my silver, and my cash. This is why I sacrifice things in my life, the weekend getaways, the trips to Hawaii, the lavish restaurants and the luxury cars. There's things you have to give up in life in order to get to the second half. You have to make sacrifices. And I had to cut some things out in my life. And it wasn't easy, it wasn't fun, but I saw what was coming, just like many of you. And so for the people out there that think that this is negativity or doom and gloom or I'm pessimistic, the worse it gets, the more opportunity it is for a person like me. It's going to be more opportunity for people like you because you put a cash reserve away, you put assets away, and you're going to prosper during the bad times. And I'm not saying that these times are going to be easy or fun. And I feel sorry for the people who didn't prepare, but they had the same opportunity that I had. They could have researched things and taken the time instead of watching football games and drinking beer and going to movies and taking weekend trips. They could have taken the time to see what was really taking place in their country. They could have woke up. I think people have made enough excuses, and there's going to be a lot of finger pointing after this whole thing implodes. But at the end of the day, you and I have no time to blame or finger point. We must continue to prepare like we have been doing. And this is why we're going to survive this. This is why you and I won't get wiped out. This is why you and I will prosper. And again, I feel sorry for the pain and suffering that's going to take place economically for the people here in America. But at the same token, you didn't want to hear the bad news because that was doom and gloom. That was negativity. You didn't want your bubble bursted. You wanted to keep posting on Facebook about your fancy dinners, your vacations to Hawaii, your new leased BMW, your new leased Mercedes. You just wanted to continue going broke, trying to look rich. And I came to a point in my life where it wasn't important to impress people. It wasn't important to show people or impress people with the kind of car I'm driving or where I'm eating dinner or where I'm vacationing at. That didn't mean anything to me. What meant something to me was having no debt, having assets, and being able to survive, prosper, and capitalize on what's coming. I remember 2008 vividly. I'm much more prepared now than I was during that crash. That was a wake-up call. I'm going to leave it there today. Have an incredible week, rest of the week. Please like this video, share it. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Have an incredible day. God bless every one of you.